Okay, my name is Zahid, and I'm going to be the MC for today. So on behalf of the Islamic Center of Orlando, I would like to welcome all of you and thank you for coming. I know Sunday is a really special day, but you took out the time to come visit us, and that means a lot to us. So thank you for that. And I just wanted to welcome you all, and so we're going to have a recitation of the Holy Quran, which is a tradition of ours. We like to open our events and special instances with the recitation. So I'd like to call up Muad. He's one of our youngsters, and he's currently memorizing the Holy Quran, so he would like to recite so that you can enjoy that.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا يوم ينفخ في الصور فتأتون أفواجا وفتحت السماء فكانت أبوابا وسيرت الجبال فكانت سرابا إن جهنم كانت مرصادا للطاغين مآبا لابثين فيها أحقابا لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا إلا حميما وغساقا جزاء وفاقا إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا وكذبوا بآياتنا كذابا وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا فذوقوا فلن نزيدكم إلا عذابا إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دحاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال صوابا ذلك اليوم الحق فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه مآبا إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا.
Thank you, Muad. Next, we're going to have some opening remarks by our Imam. His name is Tariq Rashid, and he's been our Imam and President for over 20 years. So please, Hafsa.
I would like to start by welcoming you all at the Islamic Center of Orlando. Thank you for coming. But I would like to especially thank Pastor Barton from Windermere Union Church. What happened was that few months ago, there was a candlelight vigil to honor the victims of the church shooting in Houston. So there I went to his church and we met for the first time, and we were welcomed there, and I found great things which were common between the people of that church, the pastor, and our community, and myself. So that was the point when I thought that we should get together over lunch or dinner. But I was not sure if the pastor will like this idea of coming here. But when we threw the idea, he accepted, and he brought so many of his members to our mosque. So Pastor, thank you for coming, and thank you for bringing so many guests. We really there are many people who were supposed to come, but few of them called sick because of flu. But there are some who are on their way. So the program today is that we are going to have lunch, and after lunch, the pastor is going to speak, I'm going to speak, and we are going to take some questions. Now let me just briefly touch about what our mosque, Islamic Center of Orlando, stands for. Islamic Center of Orlando believes in building bridges. We hate hatred, and we love to make friends, and we love to love everyone. And we believe that every religion, stands for love, compassion, and making bridges. And we believe that, we who are living in Southern Florida, we cannot love each other truly until we know each other's. Do you know that a survey came lately that says that 67% of Americans have little or no knowledge of Muslims. Now imagine 67%, it's a big number. So meaning you have no clue who Muslims are. Although your doctor could be a Muslim, your lawyer could be a Muslim, the teacher of your children in a school could be a Muslim, but on an average, 67% of Americans do not know who Muslims are or what Islam stands for. So what most of the people are learning about Islam is through Fox TV. Right? And that's not a good medium. And then you see some political leaders, they are full of hatred in this country, and they are spreading hate. But that's politics. They do what they're good at. But we as religious people who go to church, who go to mosque, who go to synagogue, we are the people of God. And every religion stands for love. If anybody is talking about hatred, then that person is not a religious person, right? We are all a creation of God, and we all believe that God is the sustainer, and God is love, and God loves those people who love people. So this is another step to make bridges. This is a step to spread the peaceful message of divine books. We believe that Jesus, Moses, and Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon them, they came to spread the understanding of God and to create bridges and love. So after lunch, we'd like to hear from the pastor. I'll be speaking briefly, and then we'll be taking questions. And then if you want, we can give you a tour of the mosque, right? So I know that it's lunch time. I'll not take too much of time. So we will go for lunch. And Zahid, which way we should go? Okay. So we'll start with the pastor's table. The pastor has to be fed well. Right this way. Zahid can take them. And then we eat.
There's nothing like the house law, right? So
try to stick to 20
पिज्जा के साथ है क्या नाम उसका नाम क्या Desmond's worked very hard. It's like
Did you like it? It was not too spicy, right? See, I am from India and I love spicy. So, but I made sure that it's not too spicy. So you can keep eating and enjoying the food, but I'd like to request and invite Pastor Batten to say a few words of wisdom. And pastors and imams are full of wisdom.
Yeah, that's why we're full of it.
So I invite him to say a few words.
Hello, I'm Reverend Barton Buchanan. I've been the pastor of the Windermere Union Church, United Church of Christ now for almost 23 years. So a lot of my life, and it has been an incredible experience. We've experienced a lot of life together, and we've grown a lot together. Thank you so much for your hospitality and inviting us to have lunch with you. We appreciate it so much, and it means the world to us. Also, James shared with me that the other day during your prayers, you prayed for my wife and her healing, and I shared that with her, and a big smile came on her face. So thank you so much for that, and we appreciate that as well. So my assignment today is to talk to you about bridge building. So I'm going to start with a story. This is the best way for me to teach is with stories. Now, the story I'm about to share with you is familiar to my congregation because they've heard it maybe once, twice, maybe 3 times. But it's a good story. It'll be the first time for you. So, I grew up in a southern culture. Mother from Montgomery, Alabama, father from Kentucky. And I grew up with bigoted and prejudiced attitudes about African Americans. And one of the best things that happened for me growing up was when they desegregated the public schools. Because an amazing thing happened. I started going to school with African Americans, and 2 things happened. First of all, I learned that they're human beings. They laugh, they cry, they feel. But immediately, I started making friends. It was a wonderful thing, building a bridge. The second thing that I learned is everything that I had been taught about African Americans was a lie. A total lie. Fast forward, I met in Albany, Georgia. Now it's spelled like Albany, but I learned quickly when I was in Albany that in Georgia you pronounce it Albany. Right? And I played American football when I was in high school, and they take their football very seriously there. Here in Florida, during the 2 weeks before school, we would have our 2-a-day practices, but you go to practice, you go home, you go to practice, you come home. There you live on the campus for 2 weeks. So we reported on Monday, lived there through Friday, went home on the weekend, and then the next week. While I was at school there, I made a new friend named Larry Hawkins. Larry was mixed race. Larry was too light-skinned to be fully accepted among the African Americans in school, and he was definitely too African American to be accepted among the whites. For some reason, Larry and I became good buddies. One day after football practice, got all cleaned up and showered and went down into the cafeteria area, and there was a Coke machine there. And so I got a Coke, and with me was Larry and one of my white friends. So my white friend said to me, "Hey, let me have a swig," which is Southern for "let me have a drink." I didn't hesitate or think twice. I handed him my soda. Larry asked me, "Hey, can I have a drink?" And all of a sudden, my whole bigoted and prejudiced life flashed before my eyes. Everything that I was taught was now I was facing this moment of decision, this crossroads in life at age 15. I don't know how long it took me to respond in time and space, but it seemed like forever in the moment. And I handed him my soft drink, and he took a swig, and I drank after him, and nothing happened. And not a thing happened to me physically or right? It was amazing. But something did happen. I was transformed in that moment. Because you see, wasn't the whole civil rights movement about white people and dark people using the same restrooms or not? Water fountain for whites only? Water fountain for coloreds only? Could white people and dark-skinned people sit at the counter together at Woolworths and have lunch? That was the whole thing, wasn't it? Separated not only because of race and color, but also in social areas. So right at that moment, Larry Hawkins did me one of the biggest favors of my life. He helped me to let go of all the myths and the bigotry that I was raised with, and to build a bridge between Larry and me. And it was an important event in my life. Now, in our Greek scriptures, or what we call New Testament, there are many stories about Jesus eating and drinking with all the wrong people. It was the same issue back then in the first century. The religious leaders and the Pharisees, which would have been religious fundamentalists in their day, complained constantly that Jesus was eating and drinking with the tax collectors and the prostitutes and all the sinners. Now, two of those groups are very specific. I guess the other one carried a whole group of people. But what we've learned in the first century when Jesus was around, to eat and drink with someone was to accept them for who they are. And it's even true today. You're uncomfortable if you have to sit at a table with someone you don't like, right? Or if you go to a wedding reception and the imam or the pastor is seated there at your table, right? Jesus broke the rules. He broke the rules. And it changed people's lives. We have another story about this man named Zacchaeus. Now, Zacchaeus was a tax collector, and he was very wealthy, but he was very small in stature. So he heard Jesus was coming into town, and as Jesus was walking down the street, all the crowd started gathering together, and Zacchaeus was trying to make his way in the front, but no one would let him because, well, he was a tax collector. So what Zacchaeus did was he climbed a sycamore tree. Now imagine that. One of the wealthiest men in the village, dressed in fine linen, and because he was in cahoots with the Romans, he was probably wearing fine Gucci leather shoes. Sitting in a tree. When Jesus sees him, he says, Zacchaeus, come out of that tree. I'm going to have lunch with you today. The people around started grumbling, aren't there more righteous people here than him? Shouldn't Jesus be having lunch with us? But when Jesus had lunch with Zacchaeus, it meant that Jesus accepted and loved him for who he was. And something miraculous happened. Zacchaeus was transformed by the experience. He said, look, everyone. I'm going to give half of everything I own to the poor, and anyone that I have cheated over the years, I will pay them back 4 times what I cheated. And then Jesus exclaims, salvation has come to this house. Now, in Greek, the word salvation comes from the Greek word sozo, which means to become whole, to become complete. Eating together is a sign of total acceptance, and it's transformative. Throughout the decades, the United States has tried to broker peace between the Palestinians and the Jews. And they've come close a couple of times, and there have been some agreements and some treaties signed. I don't know who said it, but I remember very clearly that he did say it. He says, we will know that there is true peace between the Palestinians and the Jews when the leaders of each group sit down at a table and have a what? A meal together. Because there's something powerful about breaking down the barriers when you sit and you eat together. There's another story I want to share with you. Jesus was invited to have dinner with Simon the Pharisee. And when Jesus walked into his home, he was greeted, but he didn't receive all the typical customs of his people during that time. And evidently the meal was taking place in an outdoor courtyard where other people could see it and had access to it. While they were reclining and eating, a woman comes boldly into the group and she starts weeping. and she washes his feet with her tears. Then she lets her hair down, and she wipes his feet with her hair. Then she takes this extremely expensive perfume, and she anoints him. Simon the Pharisee was watching all this take place, and he thought to himself, there's no way this man could be a prophet. If he were a real prophet, he would know what kind of woman that was. Jesus, knowing his thoughts and his heart, he said, Simon, see the woman. Araho, to see experientially. Not just to see, okay, I acknowledge there are things here that I can see. No, to see and experience. See the woman. What she has done for me, you refuse to do as your guest. When I walked into your home, you did not wash my feet. When I walked in your home, you did not anoint my head with oil. And then Jesus said, who do you think loves more? One who is forgiven more or one who is forgiven less? Simon the Pharisee says, I suppose one who's been forgiven more. Jesus said exactly right. Those who've been forgiven more love more. Those who've been forgiven less love less. See the woman. Another story that takes place around a meal. So what I want you to do is to look around and see the women. Not just acknowledge there are women here, but to see. Experiential, see. See the men. Look around. You're all looking at me. Look around. See the women, see the men, see the children. Look at each other. Look at each other in the eyes. See? And what is it that we see? Do we see the differences in our skin color or in our religion or the way we're dressed? And when you look into another person's eyes, you see something deeper. You see something deeper. So the way I see this, Imam Tarek, is for the Windermere Church, Union Church, and Islamic Center, the bridge has been built. We've shared a meal together. We're at peace with one another. It seems to me the greater question now is this. The bridge is built. How often are we going to walk and cross the other side? And what are we going to bring with us when we do? I want to close with this. In the ancient Greek, there are 4 words for love, which is very different than English. I can love my wife, love my dog, love ice cream, but hopefully they're all very different kinds of love. Storge, the love that brothers, the siblings share. Eros, intimate love between partners. Philios, love for humanity, where we get our word philanthropic. Then there's agape, which is unconditional love. Love given for love's sake. Love given without any expectation of anything in return. Love all, serve all. Love given with no expectation of anything given. It's love that's given from a place that's deep in your soul. So I can assure you, our wonderful and beautiful guest, that we come here in agape. And when we serve with you and eat with you, it's from agape, unconditional love. And whatever projects and things we do together in the future, we bring across the bridge agape, unconditional love. Unconditional love. So now when we look at one another and we see, looking at each other, what do we see? We see more than brothers and sisters and children of Abraham, or more than brothers and sisters of Jesus and Christianity. What do we see? We see brothers and sisters all created in the image of the divine, which we call God or Allah. Either way, now when we see each other, now that we've shared a meal with each other, now that we've accepted each other for who we are, we can come together no longer as strangers, but as brothers and sisters in agape, unconditional love. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Pastor. It was lovely, beautiful. You summed it up. You summed the essence of today's lunch. And I hope that when we go home, we'll take your beautiful words with us. This just reaffirms our belief that, we need to know each other's more closely, because the story that the passage is now mentioned, one I have heard before, but two I heard today. So I gained some new insight about Jesus. And as you know that, and it's kind of very strange that most of the Americans do not know that we Muslims believe in Jesus. I remember a few years ago when I mentioned this to a Christian student at UCF when I was studying there. So he was completely not believing me that Muslims believe in Jesus, and our belief is incomplete if we don't believe in Jesus. And we believe in Moses, we believe in Abraham, we believe in Noah, we believe in Adam, and then we believe in Prophet Muhammad. And we believe that Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet. So when we look into the lives of all these prophets, we find something which is very common, and that is love towards human beings. Love towards human beings. And that just like Pastor said, that they would not discriminate people based on their color, their language, their culture. But they will love people and they will spread love. Like for example, one of the saying of our Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, is that he says that you do three things and you will enter into paradise. You do three things and you will enter into paradise. First is that wherever you are living, spread peace. Yeah? In Arabic it says afshu salam, meaning spread peace. And you can spread peace through your actions. So spread peace. Second is feed people. Feed people. And the third thing is pray to God, especially in the darkness of night when nobody is watching you except for God. So if you do three things, Prophet Muhammad said that you will enter into paradise with great ease. So, these are some of the teachings of prophets, like Pastor said. He narrated the beautiful stories of Jesus. And if you read the life of Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, you will find that his teachings were all full of peace. So was the teaching of Moses and other prophets. So this is the beauty of coming together, that we learn from each other and we learn about each other's religious teachings. And having said that, I have Mr. Bobby Lance. He is here, and I would like to invite him to say a few words to us. He just now narrated to us a very beautiful story or his experience with Mr. Aziz, whom I also happen to know. And that really, it's a small story, but when he told me, I said, wow, look, there are good human beings everywhere. So Mr. Bobby, when you're speaking, I would like to request you to share that story with the audience. Thank you.
My name is Bobby Lance. This is my wife, Cindy. I'm from Orlando, Florida. My dad was from North Georgia, 6'6", big beard, mountain man. My mom was from North Alabama. My granddad was a Baptist minister. He would travel around and have, first I'd like to say to Fatima, thank you very much for the invitation. I believe, and Cindy, my wife, believe, there are no coincidences in life. It's all ordained by God. It wasn't a coincidence we met yesterday. We were at a meeting, a neighborhood meeting for the city of Orlando, and we sat down at the same table. It wasn't a coincidence. So thank you folks for your invitation and breaking bread together. I really appreciate it. But so my granddad had a flyer, which I still have one, and it says, "Would you like to save on electricity?" You open up the flyer, it would say, "Turn out the lights and come to the revival." So, he formed 14 churches in North Georgia, North Alabama, and sorry, I might speak a little long because I am Baptist. Born and raised, grew up over on the South Orange Blossom Trail. I still own the property. We lived in a building attached to my dad's shop. He was a blacksmith and a welder. We came home from school every day from Grand Avenue Elementary. We worked in the business every day, my brothers and sister and I. We learned to work. I learned that it was very hard work. We'd go to school every Sunday school every Sunday morning, and church and Sunday night and Wednesday night. I was saved at age 12 at Holy Heights Baptist Church. And I learned really quick I didn't want to use my hands so much. I wanted to use my brain and not my hands as much. And so I asked my dad when I was at age 10, could I leave home? He said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "You taught us how to work, how to live." And the Lord's always provided, even at age 10. I was saved, like I said, at 12. And he said, "When you turn 16, you can leave." And so a month before I turned 16, he allowed me to leave home, and I never looked back. I've been self-employed, and I've worked, and the Lord has always provided, sometimes a little too much. And my beautiful wife, I was able to, so when, and this is for the young folks in the audience, when it's time for you to leave home, sprout your wings, don't be afraid. Listen to the Lord. He's our God. He's a loving God and a forgiving God, and He loves us all. But you will always be provided for. You will always get when He wants to give it to you. I was able to make it into through high school, through not a regular college, but a private college, and graduate school, and that's when I met my lovely wife Cindy. She was a freshman, so she's a little younger. I was headed to law school, and her stepdad had an A&W restaurant in Louisville, Kentucky. And I said, "Boy, I really like this business," so I got into business 39 years ago. And we've done it ever since. Cindy taught school here in Orange County. She retired, special ed here in Impaired, 30 years teaching school. But I would like to tell that story, but I would also like to say that, there's no hatred in my heart. There's no place for it, nor in Cindy's heart. There's no hatred at all. We're all born equal. We're all human. We're all child of God. The only thing is, it's not God that's causing these problems. It's the devil. The devil wants us to fight. The devil wants us to split apart. He wants us to do these type of things because he wants to win. Well, I'm here to tell you today, the devil is not going to win. The Lord will win. We will be friends. Well, I am sounding like a Baptist preacher, and I got to tell you some words. But yes, I am running for Orange County Commission for District 3. It's another district, but that's really, truly not why I'm here today. I was here because of a gracious invitation. But we do need to keep God in our country, in our government. We need to do, I think it's Romans 13, that, and I wish I could recite like the young man did earlier, but I've never been able to. But in Romans 13, you are to obey your government officials. As long as your government, I think that's another, and please help me with this, that's as long as the government officials are doing what they're supposed to do, that they're abiding by God. But on to the story you asked. I guess 20 years ago, great little restaurant, and by the way, this food was really great. I think it was, which restaurant I got the flyer. I think we've eaten there before. But Mama Della's restaurant, it's a little advertisement at Portofino Bay at Universal Studios. Cindy and I, we learned from my son that this was like a romantic restaurant, so we always go there during holidays and special occasions like Valentine's Day, anniversaries of our first date, and anniversaries of our engagement, and I can tell you all those dates, so that's how we've been married 36 and a half years. So. But we met a gentleman by the name of Aziz, and he was our server, and every time we'd go there, he was our server. He would always ask me, he said, I work here, I work at Disney World, I've got a wife, and he didn't have any children at the time, I believe. And he had always asked me, because I'd been in business so long, and with restaurants and other things, and he'd always ask me, what about this restaurant chain or this restaurant chain? What about this? And I'd always say no. We'd talk for a while and I'd say no, 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 no. So then one day, he totally surprised me. He said, what about this used tire place on Orange Blossom Trail called Charlie's Tires? It's for sale and I can get it. I said, Aziz, are you afraid to get your hands dirty? He said, no, I'm from Morocco. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I know what it's like. And I said, then you need to buy this business because I've got some buddies in the used tire business, and if you work it and you have the passion and it's what you want to do, you're going to do very well. Well, he did very well. He opened that store, or bought that store, built another store up in DeLand, another store over here, and another store over here, and he'd buy them and get them running. He was very good at taking businesses and getting them done, and he'd sell them. Then he opened up a big warehouse. I helped him with the lease, and he was a friend of mine that owned the warehouse, 10,000 square foot. And I said, man, what are you going to do? He had thousands of tires, and he knew what to do and how to do it. And then he sold that, bought a bigger warehouse and sold that, and now he has a place, pick and pay, old junk cars and wrecked cars and things, and to sell it. So he's been very successful. So the reason I told this story was, and I forgot to tell you when I first told the story, was when the turn down in the business happened back in 2008, we were really hurting financially, and we didn't know what to do. Businesses or banks were not loaning money. I called Aziz. It was just, actually we were in Louisville, Kentucky. Cindy's dad had just passed away. And it was a tough, tough time, and I thought we were going to lose everything. And I was talking to Aziz on the phone. I said, I need some money. He said, how much, Bobby? I said, $30,000, $40,000. He said, when you get home, I have $80,000 cash for you. You come get it. Don't worry about when you pay me back. You pay me back when you need to, when you can. A handshake, no documents. And if that is not trust from brothers, nothing else. It took me a while. It took me about 1.5 years, 2 years to pay him back. But with a handshake, from a Christian man to a Muslim man, we can do this in the world. We can do it together. We can live together. We will live together, and we will love together and grow together. So,
We have a professor from Johnson University. She was here last Friday, and I'd like to invite her to say a few words about her experience at the mosque and experience coming here. Would you like to come here for a few minutes? Yeah. And after that, whoever would like to say a few words, the floor will be open.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Erickson, and I'm a professor of Human Services with Johnson University, which is in Kissimmee. And I have one of my students here with me today. Her name is Megan. We came last week for a service at the mosque, and we were delighted, and we were so welcomed. We have spoken about it all week. Earlier this week, we were in what's called a discipleship group together, and in that moment, we were to share, when did you feel closest to Christ this week and furthest from Christ? And her and I were in different groups, but we said we both felt closest to Christ when we were at the mosque. And we shared that with the rest of our peers. And and so I think that was very influential for other students to hear, as well as other faculty and staff. We look forward to an ongoing relationship with the Islamic Center of Orlando. We're so privileged and so delighted to be here today with all of you.
Thank you. If anybody has any comments, they would like to ask questions, they would like to speak, so we have plenty of time, I guess. And after that, if you'd like to get a tour of the mosque, because I think most of you have never been inside the mosque, and you have never seen us how we pray. So if you, after this session, if you are interested, we can give you a tour of the mosque, free of cost. So Dr. Islam Saab has few, he is one of the founder of Islamic Center of Orlando. When most of us were not here, he was here, and he founded the Islamic Center of Orlando.
Again, assalamu alaikum. It's peace be on you. This is the greeting. I'll start with a joke. This comedian came from Calcutta. So he heard in India that America is a very prosperous country. People are very happy, they have a lot of money. So, that's the reason we came in here also, the immigration, we came here. So when he came here, he says, I got devastated by going to America. I said, what is the reason? I said, wherever we go, we only hear hi, hi, hi. In our culture, in our language, hi means, oh my God. So, thank you for coming on my anniversary. Today is my 32 years in Kissimmee, Orlando. My gastroenterology practice, I have been practicing in Kissimmee. Just one message I want to give is that your religion, my religion, there is no such thing, as believer, as the brothers say. It is faith, it's not in the faith. Because Jesus, Moses, only barrier that between you and we have is Prophet Muhammad, is beyond him. Because he is the last prophet and he is the seal of the prophet. Islam is a religion as it is, the way it was revealed 1450 years ago. It is as it is. You cannot challenge it, you cannot change it, you cannot even move the comma from one place to another place. Either the hikmah, the wisdom that Allah used, the very first word that was revealed is called Iqra. Iqra means read. So he said, I'm illiterate, I don't know how to read. So it was repeated again, Iqra. He's again repeated the same thing. The third repetition was read. Read in the name of the God or Allah that has created you from a clot of blood. So the Quran is there. It's not possible to talk about religion. I go sometimes to talk to Valencia College, invite for 1 hour presenting the Islamic religion to the children. But the only thing I find in every campus, the very first question they ask, how come Muslim can have 4 wives? So that is the understanding they have developed about our religion. But our religion is in the Quran. Our religion is in the Quran. The people who practice Islam, they spread all over the world to tell people, become like us. Kulu mislana in Arabic. Like in Indonesia, that was not a Muslim country. Only 6 companions of the Prophet went there to tell them, become like us. So the Quran, as I said, it is an unchallengeable thing. Allah says that if you cannot produce a book like this, produce a chapter. If not a chapter, produce a paragraph. So that is my message. If you want to know science, you have to read Quran. If you want to know embryology, you have to read Quran. If you want to know oceanography, you have to read Quran. All this information is in Quran that was revealed 1440 years ago. Let me give you an example. Maurice Bussam, he was an oceanographer from France. He spent 18 years in ocean, and then his thesis was published. The thesis said that the Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean does not meet. There is a barrier between this. So when he revealed his thesis, the Muslim scholar went and recited the verse of the Quran, that I have created 2 oceans, between that I have put another wall, so they cannot transgress. This is exact translation of the verse that I am telling you. So these are the facts over there. Embryology, how the babies are born in the womb of the mother, it is in the Quran. Keith Moore from Canada, he has written a book, This Thing, on the embryology of human development, what is in the Quran. and what are in the saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him. So my dear brothers and sisters, we belong to the same faith. We belong to the same faith. If I do not believe in Moses, if I do not believe in Jesus, I cannot claim to be Muslim because they were the representative of God or Allah, whatever we say. So this is our message, that let's come together. We do not have any differences. Only differences is that I follow the evil and somebody does not follow the evil. So if we become practicing Muslim or Christian or Jews, all our problems will be solved in this world. Today we do not practice it, but I say I'm a Muslim. You know, like I have beard. You see, I grew my beard in 1983. All these criminals who are committing some sins in the name of Muslim, you will never find they are bearded, but when they go to the jail, they grow beard. When they go to the jail, they grow beard. So that is the difference, brothers and sisters. When you follow it, our problems will be solved. Religion was sent by Allah to save the human being from the disaster. So the obedience and disobedience, this is the only difference in Islam. Either you are in or you are out. So if you claim that you are a Muslim, you practice my religion and tell the people who you are. Then you will see the people will understand and our problem will be solved. May God and Allah help all of us to understand one another, and we can live in peace and tell the world, no, we are one entity, one human being. The Quran says, if you kill one innocent person, the Quran says, if you kill one innocent person, you should think you have killed the entire mankind. You have saved one human being, you should think you have saved the entire human being. That is what the message of Jesus, that is the message of Moses, that is the message of Muhammad, and that is the message of 124,000 prophets that came to this world. May Allah bless us, guide us, and show us a solution for the problems that a human being is facing. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to say a few things? Okay. So whoever would like to get a tour of the mosque, so Sister Fatima, she has scarves for sisters, for females to wear. That's a part of her tradition and religion. She has different color scarves, so you can pick any color, and then we will go to the mosque. And Zahid will show us how to pray. So Zahid. And so again, thank you again for coming. But one last thing, I'd like to acknowledge the volunteers. There are like 20 volunteers who helped me in organizing this. So I would like to really say thank you to all of them. Thank you again for coming.